Welcome back to Bunfingus College. So, this is a violin, and the top of it is made of a kind of a wood called spruce. And we'll go walk closer to it, but there's a pointy tree between two benches over there. You see the pointy tree between the two benches? That's a spruce tree. In the back of this violin is maple. And this one right here is a maple. And that one over there is a maple. And there's some other maples. And there's an oak. That's an oak over there. The oak tree is not used in violin making. Oak is a very hard wood. The spruce on the top is a softer wood, and it acts kind of like the head of a drum, right? So it vibrates, and it transmits the sound from the string to, that's called the bridge, that thing. And inside there's what's called a sound post. And that is another piece of wood that's wedged between the top and bottom. So it's not glued in, or it's not permanently in, and it can fall. Sometimes you'll pick up a violin and you'll hear something rattling in it, and that's because the sound post fell. Okay? Sometimes you'll pick up a violin and you'll hear something rattling in it because there is a rattlesnake rattle in it. So just because it's rattling doesn't mean it's broken in any way, because if it's a sound post, it can be reset, and if it's a rattlesnake, it's in there for good luck. What happens sometimes is the strings put pressure on the top, and sometimes if the strings are off, the sound post will fall. But it's not dire, it's commonplace. Now I'll say, since we're on the subject of the maple, the backs of a lot of fiddle are what's called flamed maple. So you'll see these beautiful stripes. And if you look closely, it's almost like you could look into it. It's very interesting kind of illusion of depth, because the wood is actually like 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters thick, but with this beautiful flame, that's what they call that. They call that flamed maple. With that beautiful flaming, and the nice varnishing also is a quality of it. It makes it so that it's like as if you can look right into the thing. So this is Bunfingus College. This is not the center of Bunfingus College, even though it's a circle with a dot in the middle of it. This is the Bunfingus College campus. But that's not the middle. Where's the center? We're all going to meet at the center, if there are any of us come next year. We're going to meet at the center and take a picture. For the first class of Bunfingus College, we're going to meet in September of 2025 at the very center of Bunfingus College. Bunfingus College may grow, but it's still going to grow from this center. So the center is going to remain the same no matter how big it gets. For example, the map I showed was the first map, and it was at Kedzie. Kedzie to the west, Montrose to the south, and Pratt to the north. But then I wonder where it will grow from there. So anyway, here's my spruce trees, and here's my spruce and the violin. And I just feel like I'm going to try to go a little more advanced today, because I'm getting sick of this page 1 I've been on forever. And I'm hoping somebody will follow along. So I'm going to talk in a little more advanced setting now. So these two twin trees are spruce trees. And top of this is made of spruce. And this violin was made in 2003. So possibly from spruce trees like that were alive not that long ago. But the advanced stuff I wanted to talk about is the so-called Van Halen belt. This is singular, not plural. So within this area called the Van Allen belts, that's lots of them, there's one specific belt, which is the Van Halen belt. The Van Halen belt is a whole world, an earth, an entire world is one belt within the Van Allen belt. And it's just a coincidence that those names sound similar. And Riffrock is the language of the Van Halen belt. And Edward Van Halen is the guitar god of this belt. Though he's not a god, he's just a human. Guitar god is a figure of speech. So I'm not saying that he's more than just a person. So there's this person, Edward Van Halen, and his personality is kind of, not just his, but the whole band, the brothers, the whole group, set the tone of this land. And if you want to look more into it, you can see into their influences. So they're very much Benny Goodman and Gene Krupa and Lionel Hampton influence. And those guys jammed. That was a super jamming band. Benny Goodman was a virtuoso. Lionel Hampton was a virtuoso. And then they had this Gene Krupa banging away hard on the drums. It's the Van Halen they're not like Van Halen, but Van Halen is heavily influenced by them from the father, Jan Van Halen, who was also a clarinetist. So what I'm getting at, that little digression, is to say that you can travel from the Van Halen belt to the Benny Goodman belt, which is a similar belt, but it's apart. They're years and years apart. The 80s versus the 40s, right? So there's a belt called the Van Halen belt. And if you want, you can take some stairs up from there and go up to the Benny Goodman belt, right? And from the Benny Goodman belt, you could go to the Louis Armstrong belt. See what I'm saying? So these are all singular. The Louis Armstrong belt, the Benny Goodman belt, the Van Halen belt, and it's all within this plural area called the Van Allen belts, which are in the magnetosphere above Earth. And so that's the little advanced digression. So there's a lot of reason to this rhyme. There's rhyme and reason to all this. Okay, I've talked long enough. So we're gonna riff rock a little bit. And that'll be the little riff for tonight. And that is the open G string, and that's the octave on the G string. Listen to that motor, and I'll just cap it off with this. So I really want to give some actual information. Let's go see what kind of tree that is. And this riff is based on the pentatonic scale. And if you look at there's our spruce. If you look at the piano and you see the black and white keys, and if you look at the black keys specifically, there's a group of 3 and a group of 2, and it's a pattern with a group of 3 and a group of 2. That's the pentatonic scale. Here's another maple tree. Look at that. Hi, maple. That's the pentatonic scale in the key of C. But we're not playing in the key of C. We're playing a minor pentatonic. So those are maples, little baby maples. Here's some full-grown spruce. This is a little violin just waiting to be made right here 200 years from now. But anyway, we're taking that little scale. There's the G, and that's the group of 2. It's a group of 3 and a group of 2. So that octave is the higher one of the group of 2. And that is the first one of the group of 3.